Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So look, today is a huge day. It's a massive day. It's the trade deadline, okay? And nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. Nobody knows exactly who's going to be on the move, but we've already seen a huge name already be traded yesterday with Von Miller heading to the Rams. So anything could happen, and the New York Jets, sitting right now at 2 wins, could be sellers. We have a couple players on this roster that are on pretty team-friendly deals. So in this one, I wanted to go through that list of players, talk about not only what I think they're worth as far as a trade is concerned, but also list off a couple teams that I feel like would be good fits for each individual player. So with that being said, let's jump in. So the first player on this list is super obvious here. It's safety Marcus Maye. There's obviously been tons of speculation, tons of rumors surrounding Marcus Maye's future in New York, whether it's Joe Douglas not really showing an urgency to bring him back for the long term. I just haven't really heard many rumors or many rumblings at all as far as a big money contract for Marcus Maye in the near future. He's playing on the franchise tag right now. We had the tweet from Maye's agent essentially looking forward to the trade deadline to get him out of New York. But I mean, as sad as it sounds, I just don't really see a future between these two parties. I love Maye. I think he's a solid player. Definitely one of the better safeties in the league. And I hate to see him go, but look, if he's not in the plans for this team moving forward, we can't have another Robbie Anderson situation where they end the season and he walks and the Jets get nothing, and he goes on and he's a productive safety elsewhere, and the Jets are left stranded, just like Robbie. So as far as trade compensation is concerned, I feel like the Jets could get anywhere from a 2nd-round pick down to a 4th-round pick. Second being a slam dunk offer. 4th-round pick being maybe not much interest around the league. Maybe it's 1 team, 2 teams, and the Jets are desperate to deal them. We'll move them for anything at that point. Then I could see a 4th-round pick being involved. But realistically, I feel like a 3rd-round pick is right on the money. A 3rd-round pick is right on the money for Marcus Maye. When we look at potential suitors, the first team that pops into my mind is Tampa Bay. I mean, not only has Tampa been vocal about adding Marcus Maye, I mean, they need some help on the back end. They want to bring in a veteran on the back end. Marcus Maye fits that defensive system. They're in a complete win-now mode, so they are willing to give up draft picks, especially a middle-round pick. It's not like it's not like they're trading for Matthew Stafford and it requires 3 first-round picks, nothing crazy. It's a middle-round pick. What's a middle-round pick to Tampa right now? Not much. Maye has playing experience with Todd Bowles. I mean, man, it just makes so much sense from tons of different angles. So Tampa, obviously, right up there at the top of the list, probably the #1 suitor. We did hear about the Rams, but they just made a move for Von Miller. They just traded away a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. They only have 1 3rd-round pick. I think they only have 3 total picks in this upcoming draft, believe it or not, and one of those is a 3rd-round pick. So if the Rams want to deal out that 3rd, I would accept it. I honestly would accept it at this point in time, albeit it's essentially like a 4th-round pick because it's so low, because the Rams are such a good team. And you would assume that this team would go far into the playoffs, but I don't want to count out the Rams. Plus, they lost Johnson in free agency, a really solid player. Marcus Maye would come in and provide versatility, playing either free safety or strong safety. So Maye to the Rams makes a lot of sense. And the one team that I also want to add in there is the Vegas Raiders. I mean, Merrick has been an absolute steal. He has been fantastic out of TCU in the 2nd round. The guy was supposed to go round 1. What a draft pick for Mike Mayock and co. But it's strong safety. Abram has been up and down. There's been some good, there's been some bad. If the Raiders, the Raiders are a surprising team right now. They're winning a ton of games. If the Raiders are for real and they want to hang in there and compete with teams like Kansas City and the Chargers moving forward, Marcus Maye could be a great fit for that style of defense. And again, the Raiders, win now mode. Are they rebuilding? Are they win now? If they want to push their chips into the middle of the table and go win now, I could see this team dealing away a mid-round pick. So Marcus Maye should have a lot of suitors, but it's going to be sad to see him go if he does in fact get traded. But at the end of the day, it is a business and the Jets have to move forward. We have to get something if Maye is not in the plans. Next up is wide receiver Jamison Crowder. This is a guy who actually took a pay cut to stay with the Jets this season. He's on the last year of his deal, so from that aspect, you're not locked into a 3-year contract or anything nuts like that from another team's perspective. It's just a quick half-year rental. I don't expect the trade compensation to be that much. I would say anywhere from a 4th-round pick and beyond. So a 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't see Joe Douglas dealing Crowder for a 7th, but I wouldn't put it past them at this point, just because the Jets have so much. I mean, we have so many wide receivers, whether we're talking about Corey Davis or Mims or Elijah Moore, who was essentially drafted to be Crowder's replacement. We also have Barrios, and he can perform in the slot. I mean, we have tons and tons and tons of wide receivers. I could see Crowder being moved. The big question is, what would it take for Joe Douglas to part ways with Crowder? So I really feel like there's two big teams here, two teams that are in the NFC North. Number one, the Green Bay Packers, much like the Bucs, much like the Rams, win now team. When we take a look at this Packers wide receiving core, yes, they have talent, but Allen Lazard, Devontae Adams, and Valdez-Scantling have all missed time this season at one point or another. I really like Rodgers. It just doesn't really seem like they target him that much. The volume, the production simply isn't there with Rodgers, so it makes me think, hey, could LaFleur want a veteran playmaking wide receiver in the slot? Granted, Crowder isn't what he used to be back with Washington, but he still could be effective. He could still win one-on-one matchups on the inside, crossing patterns, stuff like that. I mean, when the play breaks down, Aaron Rodgers is a wizard at extending plays and finding playmakers. Crowder has that separation ability, and I could see Green Bay, because again, they are a win-now team, wanting to pull the trigger. If it only takes a 4th-round pick, a 5th or a 6th-round draft pick, I could easily see Green Bay making the move for Crowder. The other team is the Chicago Bears, a team that heavily implements the short passing game. They don't have much talent at the wide receiver position. You got to get Justin Fields some help at some point. Allen Robinson, he's set at the open market, and again, you can say the same thing about Crowder, but if he forms some chemistry with Justin in the back half of the season, he could be relatively cheap to re-sign. Also, Matt Nagy is fighting for his job here. I do feel like Nagy at some point in time has to realize, we need as much help on the offensive side of the football as possible. We need to make sure Justin Fields feels comfortable. Let's go get a veteran wide receiver for, mid to late round draft pick of Jamison Crowder, not being paid a ton. Again, took a pay cut to stay with the Jets. So I do feel like it makes a lot of sense for Chicago as well. So the third player on this list is right tackle Morgan Moses. Now, I highly doubt Joe Douglas deals Moses, but at the same time, I feel like if the right offer comes across Joe Douglas's desk, he could pull the trigger, because Mekhi Becton will be coming back. George Fant does provide versatility as far as left side or right side, and I like George Fant as a player. And at the end of the day, Morgan Moses is on a 1-year contract. So although it is unlikely, I don't want to just completely rule out Morgan Moses as an untouchable prospect. So the first team that I feel like would be a great fit for Morgan is the Arizona Cardinals. This is a team that's making a win now push. A lot of their moves are actually reminiscent of how the Rams do business, trading away draft picks left and right, really focusing on adding veteran talent to this team, whether it's a JJ Watt, whether it's an AJ Green, whether it's a Rodney Hudson who's hurt, whether it's a Zach Ertz. This Cardinals group, this Cardinals organization wants to win. Their window is here. Kyler Murray's on a rookie contract. He's definitely going to be paid by Arizona. I mean, this is your opportunity to strike. If you're the Cardinals, you play in a stacked division. Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Russell Wilson's on his way back. I mean, I could definitely see the Cardinals making a move here, get some versatility, get the veteran leader in the trenches. I mean, you take a look at the offensive line right now. We talked about Rodney Hudson. He's hurt. He's out for the year. You look at Max Garcia being hurt. You look at Justin Murray being hurt. The Cardinals right now are banged up on this offensive line. The last thing you want as a fan is for your starting right tackle to go down, and now all of a sudden you have to go with your third option, your fourth option at the right tackle position, and now your offense can't function effectively because you're just getting burned off the edge. Morgan Moses has a ton of starts under his belt. The Cardinals are willing to deal draft picks. They're in a win now mode. I feel like it does make a lot of sense. The second team is the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore, much like the Cardinals, they're in a really good division. The Bengals are turning onto the scene. Pittsburgh, definitely not what they were, but they're still a formidable team that, they're obviously winning games. And then Cleveland, somewhat of a sleeping giant if they get their play calling right. Baltimore, Ronnie Stanley went down for the season. Right now, this team is starting Tyree Phillips. So if you want to add that veteran presence at right tackle, if you want to get more consistent, and a guy who's played in a lot of NFL games, Morgan Moses could be your guy. Draft compensation, I feel like this could be really all over the board, anywhere from a 3rd round pick to a 3rd to a 5th. And the reason why I say a 5th round is because Morgan Moses was a free agent for a long time. He was available. He was out there for teams to sign. He ended up signing with the Jets on a 1-year contract. That tells me that there just wasn't a lot of buyers. There wasn't a lot of interest initially. Now, of course, we do have to factor into the mix that it's the trade deadline. Teams are in a little bit of a panic mode. We have a bunch of games under our belt. We kind of know what teams are at this point, who wants to make that push forward, who wants to push their chips into the middle of the table. Baltimore right now, I feel like this is a win now team. Win now team. You have the opportunity to go get Moses anywhere from a 3rd or 5th round pick. But again, I don't really see Moses being moved. I wouldn't put it past Joe Douglas though. And last but not least is wide receiver Denzel Mims. Now, I don't really foresee a Denzel Mims trade happening, although we do know that Mims has drawn a lot of interest around the league. So even though I doubt anything would happen with Denzel at the trade deadline as far as him getting moved, I do want to cover every single base here because look, if a wide receiver needy team calls Joe Douglas and says, hey, what's up with Denzel Mims? We will offer you a middle round pick, whether it's a 2nd, a 3rd, maybe a 4th round pick. You know, that's when things get real. That's when Joe Douglas has to call Robert Saleh and say, hey, and Mike LaFleur, what's going on with Denzel? Should we move him for this extra draft capital? Denzel's a guy who has struggled to crack the lineup, kind of has the same skill set as a Corey Davis. We've heard every, excuse in the book as far as getting Denzel on the field or why Denzel isn't playing. Doesn't know special teams. He doesn't, know the system. He doesn't know the route tree. He doesn't fit the system. It's this, it's that, it's this and that. It's a long list. It's a long list. So again, if a team calls, this could be Douglas's way out to be done with the problem. It could be a way for the coaching staff to be done with Denzel Mims, and that way they could just move forward with Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, and the original squad here. So as far as teams that would be interested in Denzel Mims, I do feel like a lot of teams would have heavy interest because he's so young, because he does have a lot of things working for him. But just for the sake of argument, the top 2 teams, number 1, Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions. That team needs wide receivers. They have a tight end. They have running backs. They have tons of offensive linemen. But wide receivers are so thin. They are so thin in Detroit that if you can get a guy in the building who could win on the outside, a guy who can make plays down the football field, a guy who still has room to grow, a guy who can win jump balls, I could see the Lions pulling a trigger. That's a team with extra draft capital. Okay, and you would assume at some point in the draft, whether it's in the 1st round where they have multiple ones, 2nd round, assuming a high 2nd round pick here, 3rd round, they're going to target a wide receiver at some point. Now you have an opportunity where you can ask the question, what's more valuable? A 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, and rolling the dice with the wide receivers that are currently out there. We haven't hit the combine. The season isn't even over yet. We don't know the exact talent. Or could we take a chance on a guy in Denzel Mims who has so much room to grow, and he has still a couple years left on his rookie deal? So I feel like Detroit could be a huge factor. Same with the Houston Texans. The Texans are another team, really thin at wide receiver. Really the same reasons here as Detroit. They don't have many young core pieces, specifically on offense. So acquiring Denzel Mims would not only just provide their rookie quarterback Davis Mills with a weapon on the outside, a guy who can win one-on-one matchups, but he also comes in and instantly becomes the team's number 2 wide receiver behind Brandon Cooks. Cooks and Mims have completely different skill sets. Cooks, obviously he's been doing great things this season. You could hurt teams down the field, stretch the defense. Mims, you could do damage over the middle of the field in the red zone. So I feel like Houston and Detroit make a ton of sense for Denzel, but at the end of the day, I don't see Joe Douglas trading Denzel just yet. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who do you see getting moved? Are the Jets sellers? Are we buyers? What happens? I feel like if anybody gets moved, it's probably going to be Marcus May. But I definitely feel like Crowder and May are the top 2. Morgan Moses, maybe if if an awesome deal comes through. And then Denzel, just an offer that blows Joe Douglas away. Or, if he secretly just does not want Denzel here anymore, if the coaching staff has they have no interest in trying to develop Denzel for the long term, I could see the Jets possibly moving him, but unlikely. So Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Can't wait to dive in and check them all out. Check out all the different ideas and trade offers and stuff like that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.